If you work hard, you will succeed. If you worked hard, you would succeed. If you had worked hard, you would have succeeded. Feel confused? Don't worry. Friends, it's me Nita with you, and in today's lesson we are going to discuss the conditional sentence with the subordinating conjunction if. Okay, in the conditional sentences, we discuss some conditions. We just put forward some conditions and its possible outcome or results. Okay, there are mainly 4 types of conditionals. First one is the zero conditional. Next, we have type 1, type 2 and type 3 conditionals. Okay, so without wasting any time, shall we just discuss it one by one? Yes. So first of all, let me discuss zero conditional. Okay, the zero conditional is used to tell about facts that are always true. Okay, some general truths that remains always constant, that would never change. Okay, so this zero conditional can be used to tell about facts that are always realistic or that are always true. Okay, consider these examples. If you heat ice, it melts. Okay, that is not everybody. That's a general truth. That's a truth that will never change. What's it? If you heat ice, it melts. Okay, so the zero conditional can be applied here. It can be fulfilled in this sentence. Okay, now just think about the structure of the sentence. Okay, let's divide this sentence into 2. Okay, the first part is this: if you heat ice. This is the subordinate clause, and this is the second part of the sentence, that is the main clause. It melts. That's the main clause. If you heat ice is the subordinate clause, and the it melts is the main clause. Or simply we could say this is the if clause and this is the result clause. So here in the sentence, in this subordinate clause or in the if clause, the verb is in the present form. Okay, it's in the present form. And in the main clause too, the verb is in the present form. So this is quite simple. That is, in the if clause, there is the verb in the present tense form, and in the result clause also, verb will be in its present form. That's why you got the answer like this: if you heat ice, it melts. Same like that, the second sentence also: if you eat too much, you get fat. Okay, this is also a fact that is always true. See, this is the subordinate clause or the if clause, and this is the main clause, or you can say the result clause. Okay, so in the if clause, you have the verb and its present form, eat. Okay, and in the main clause, the result clause too, you have the verb and its present form. If you eat too much, you get fat. Okay, that is it. So this is also something that tells about a general truth. See, come to the third one. If you touch fire, what will happen to you? You get burned. Yes, that is a truth, general truth. Okay, see, if you touch, this is the subordinate clause. That is, if clause. Okay, in the if clause, you have the verb in its present form, and thus you get burned. That is the main clause or the result clause. In the result clause also, you have the verb in its simple present form. Okay, that's why if you touch fire, you get burned. So that's all about zero conditional. Once again, I repeat, the zero conditional is used to tell about facts that is always true, and in the if clause, you will get the verb in its present form, and in the result clause too, you will get the verb in its present form. Now let's discuss type 1 conditional. Okay. See, type 1 conditional is used in sentences to denote a fact that are possible and very likely to be completed. Okay, facts that are possible and very likely to be fulfilled or happened. Okay, for example, if it rains, you will get wet. Means if it rains, there is a possibility, or it is definite, it is sure that you will get wet. If she calls me, I will go. Means if she calls me, definitely I will go. There is a possibility. I will go there. Okay, definitely I will go. Surely I will go. So that is it. In type 1 conditionals, you can tell about things that is always possible, which are likely to be happened. Okay, now let's come to the structure of the sentence. If it rains, okay, that is the if clause. And the main clause, you will get wet, result clause. Okay, this is if clause, this is the result clause. See, you just put forward a condition. See, and in the second sentence, it will be fulfilled. That condition will be fulfilled. See, if it rains, what will happen? You will get wet. So, here the verb is in the present tense, rains, present tense. And in this main clause, you have to use will, shall, may, or can. See, following the subject, you can use will or shall or can or may plus the first form of the verb. That is the structure. Okay. See, in the if clause, you will always have the verb in the present form. And in the main clause, following the subject, you have to use will or shall or can or may plus the first form of the verb, V1. That is the structure of the sentence. Come to the next example. If she calls me, if clause. And this is the result clause. Okay. If she calls me, see here the verb is in the present form. In the if clause, the verb is in the present form. And in the result clause, as I told you, following the subject, you used will here. You can use will or shall or can or may according to the possibility of the sentence, according to the possibility or according to the meaning and structure of the sentence. So here will is here. So if she calls me, I will go. Come to the next example. If she comes late, if clause, I may scold her. That is the result clause. So if she comes late, see, verb in the present form. So what is the result of that? There is a possibility. See, I may scold her. Here we used may. Okay, here you had will. Here you used may. Okay, if she comes late, there is a possibility. What's the possibility? I may scold her. Okay, following the subject, you used may here plus the first form of the verb. Okay, come to the next example. If she gets a promotion, she can buy a car. See, if she gets a promotion, if clause. And this is result clause. What's the result? You put forward a condition here. What's the condition? If she gets a promotion. So what is the result? She can buy a car then. Isn't it? Okay. See, here in the if clause, you have the verb and its present form. And in the result clause, here you used can plus first form of the verb. That is it. See, if she gets a promotion, she can buy a car. Last one. If you stop, if clause, I shall talk, result clause. In the if clause or the subordinate clause, you have the verb in its present form, and in the result clause, that is a main clause, here I used shall. Okay, yes, that's it. If you stop, there is a possibility for me to talk. That is it. If you stop, I shall talk, following the subject. Use the shall here plus the first form of the verb. Okay, so in type 1 conditionals, as I told you, here in the if clause, you have the verb in the present form. And in the result clause, following the subject, you can use will or shall or can or may plus V1, first form of the verb. Will, shall, can, may, that can be used according to the possibility. Okay, so that is it. Next up is type 2 conditionals. See, type 2 conditionals are facts that are unlikely to happen, or it describes some imaginary conditions. Okay, here the conditions that we put forward are unlikely to happen, impossible conditions. Okay, here we tells about impossible or improbable conditions, or some imaginary conditions or hypothetical conditions. So anyway, first of all, just let's discuss about impossible conditions. Okay, here are all these sentences. See, look here. If it rained, you would get wet. Okay, it didn't rain and he didn't get wet. Both didn't happen. Okay, so we are just telling about an impossible condition. That is, if it rained, you would get wet. Okay, if she called me, I would go. Means she didn't call him and he didn't go. Both the things didn't happen. But we imagine or we just think about an improbable situation. That is, if she called him, he would have gone. That is it, isn't it? Yes. So, the structure of the sentence. Let's think about the structure of the sentence. If it rained is a subordinate clause. If clause, and you would get wet is the main clause here. Result clause. See, here the verb is in the past form. And in the result clause, following the subject, you will get would instead of will. See, here in the previous example, if it rains, you will get wet. Isn't it? Yes. Instead of rains, instead of the present tense, you have the past tense here. And in the result clause too, you had will here, whereas you will replace it with would here in the result clause. Okay. In type 1, if it rains, you will get wet. Whereas in type 2, if it rained, you would get wet. Okay, that is it. So the format is this. You will have the verb in its past tense in the if clause, and you will have the result like this, that is following the subject. You can use either would or should or might or could plus the first form of the verb. Okay, next example. If she called me, verb in the past tense. If clause, verb in the past tense, and this is the result clause following the subject. You have would plus V1. Okay, if she called me, I would go. See, in the previous example, if she calls me, present tense. Okay, I will go. See, the same sentence, the same example is here. If she called me, I, instead of will, what you get here is would. I would go. Okay, that is it. Okay, the third one. If she came late, I might scold her. See, in the if clause, you have the verb in the past tense, and so that in the main clause, in the result clause, see, following the subject, you have might here. Okay, that is it. If she came late, I might scold her. See, in the previous example, it was like this. If she comes late, I may scold her. See, here in type 2, the verb instead of present, you have past tense, and instead of may, you used might here. Okay, so that is the difference. Last one. If she got a promotion, she could buy a car. If she got, see, if she got a promotion, this is the subordinate clause, if clause. So in the if clause, if you have the verb in the past form, and in the result clause, okay, she could. Okay, if she got a promotion, she could buy a car. See, in all these sentences, we discuss some facts that are unlikely to happen. See, that is an impossible condition or improbable condition. In all these examples, we discuss some impossible or improbable conditions. Okay, see, if she got a promotion, actually she didn't get the promotion, and so that it is impossible for her to buy a car. That is it. Okay, see, in type 2, you have some other examples are here. That is, in all these 3 examples, we just discuss about, see, we just discuss some imaginary conditions or hypothetical conditions, type 2. Okay, see, if I were, see, past tense, it's a verb in the past tense, were. I were means past tense. I would quit. Okay, see, would. Okay, the rule we satisfied. If I were, past tense. In type 2, past tense, if clause, you have the verb in past tense. So that in the result clause, you got would. Okay, the rule is satisfied here. But listen here, we just discuss an imaginary condition here. You just put forward an imaginary condition or a hypothetical condition. That is, if I were you, Is it possible for you to become another person? No, that is absolutely an imaginary condition, hypothetical condition. Okay, so when we discuss about facts that are quite imaginary or hypothetical, okay, there is least possibility to happen. Okay, so in that conditions, such when we discuss about such imaginary conditions, just see the structure of the sentence. In the if clause, can you see we used were instead of was. Actually, along with I, you need to use was because the subject is singular here, but you used a plural verb here. Okay, so that we use in type 2. In type 2, if it is an imaginary clause, okay, you can use where instead of along with the subjects I, she and he. Okay, with all these three subjects I, she and he, you can use where instead of was. Okay, come to the next examples. If I were a bird. Okay, this is a clause that tells about an imaginary condition. It put forward an imaginary condition, isn't it? Quite a hypothetical condition. So it is quite impossible for us to become a bird. Okay, it's quite impossible. It's only an imaginary condition. So that in such a context, you can use were instead of was. Along with the subject, I. Actually, we needed to use I was, but since it is an imaginary condition, you can use were with the subject I. So, if I were a bird, see, I would. Past tense, so would. I would fly. Imaginary condition. Come to the third example. If she were a lioness. Okay, this is the if clause. In this if clause, okay, you see, is it possible for her to become a lioness? No, never. That is only an imaginary condition. Okay, that is why you used were instead of was with the subject she. Actually, we needed to use if she was. But in imaginary conditions, in type 2 imaginary conditions, you can use the plural verb were with the subject she. Okay, if she were a lioness, she would. Okay, past tense, so would. She would tear you to pieces. Okay, that is it. Next up is type 3. Okay, in this type 3 conditionals, we discuss some unreal past situations. Some past situations, some unreal situations. Okay, and we imagine that if something different had happened in the past, there would have another results too. Okay, if something different had happened in the past, the results would have been another one. Okay, that is it. See, we discuss about some past incidents, past things. Okay, that is not real. Okay, that is not, that does not discuss real situations. Okay, let's come to the examples. See, if it had rained. Okay, if clause. And this is the result clause. You would have got wet. See the structure? See, in the if clause, the verb had rained. Past perfect. Okay, had rained. Type 3, you will always get the verb in past perfect. That is had plus V3 form. You have it. And in the result, along the subject, would have plus V3. Would have plus V3 form of the verb. Would have plus V3 form of the verb. That is the structural format of type 3 conditionals. Okay, in the if clause you will get the verb in its past perfect form, had rained. Okay, and in the results clause the verb will have the structure would have plus V3. Okay, if it had rained, we imagine that if it had rained, the result would have been like this. That is, you would have got wet. Come to the next example. If she had called me, if clause. And this is the result clause, main clause. Result clause, I would have gone. See, and if clause, you have the verb in its past perfect form, had called, and in the result you have the verb would have plus V3, go, went, gone, V3 form of the verb. Okay, so that is it. If she had called me, I would have gone. Okay, third one. If she had got a promotion, she could have bought a car. See, if she had got a promotion, if clause, and the result is she could have bought a car. Okay, that is it. See, had got, that is the verb in the past perfect form. Verb in the past perfect form, had got a promotion. Okay, then what's the result? She could have plus V3 form of the verb. She could have bought a car. See, she didn't get a promotion and she was not able to buy a car. So both these things didn't happen. But we imagined that if such a situation was there, the result would have been also been a different one. We just imagines that. Okay, so once again I'll tell you, see, the structure is like this. In the if clause you'll have the verb in its past perfect, and in the result clause the verb would be like this, would have plus V3 form of the verb. Now let's have a quick revision of the points that we have discussed here. See, conditional first, second and third. See, all the rules are here in a nutshell and you will get all the rules at a glance itself. Okay, let's see. If you work hard, you will win. That is type 1. See, verb in the present form, and in the result you got will here. Okay, that is type 1. If you work hard, you will win. The same example here once again for type 2. See, if you worked hard, verb in the past form, and here in the result you got would. Okay, yes. See, here you have type 3. If you had worked, and in the result you have would have won. Okay, if you work hard, you will win. Type 1. If you worked hard, you would win. Type 2. If you had worked hard, you would have won. Type 3. Okay guys, hope I really helped you with today's topic. We'll soon meet again with another topic. Till then, it's me, Neeta, signing off.